Welcome everyone to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. It's your host, Travis John. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good, man. Today's episode is brought to you by our Supercast at elbowstight.com or elbowstight.supercast.com. If you guys want ad-free listening, there are 3 tiers of subscription that you can do, $5, $10, $15 a month. Each tier has a specific list of benefits that you can get. Also, if you want to join our mailing list, it's also at elbowstight.supercast.com. Please go over there and subscribe and support the podcast. All the money that we earn there is going to be directed right back into the podcast. We have day jobs, so we don't need the money yet. But hopefully someday that hopefully someday that all of your support at home will give us the opportunity to actually do this full time if possible. Other housekeeping notes, make sure that you guys follow us on Instagram, all that fancy stuff, Elbows Tight Podcast, Elbows Tight everywhere. And make sure you guys check out the Supercast and join our mailing list. John, who is the guest that we have today?
Man, Laurenz, Pakter. Really, that was such a good podcast.
So good.
I think we could have kept talking.
I know. And honestly, I had to, that's why I looked at you and was like, I know it's late here. It's 7 o'clock at night here. We usually record Sunday mornings, but it was such a good conversation to talk to someone that's like this. It's like the same person as us. Like, he's super down to earth guy. We say this about a lot of our guests, but you know, he's Laurenz Pakter is the creative director for Hyperfly. He's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we talk a lot about kind of the struggles of training Jiu-Jitsu as like, you know, normal human beings.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and we have he has a lot of good stories, a lot of input and whatnot. It's just a good conversation. John mentioned when we got done recording with him that, you know, he kind of seems beyond his years, I guess the saying is.
I felt
right?
like he had some wisdom to him already. You know, I picked that up while we were talking to him.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I had a lot of fun talking. Kid, I'm only a couple years older than him, but had a lot of fun talking to him. Hope you guys enjoy this. There's a little bit of stuff out there. If you're a white belt looking to get sponsored by Hyperfly, I hate to break it to you, he smashes that right away at the end. But it's cool to talk to someone in the industry with such influence, and the way, you know, they're kind of paving the way for jiu-jitsu right now and making it, you know, a bigger and better sport and activity for those. John, what was our beverage of the day? What did you have? I had just a Modelo.
I had a single malt scotch. It was delicious. Aged 12 years. It was good.
What was the flavors of it?
It was like this is gonna sound weird, but maybe the scotch drinkers will get it. It's like a caramel cough syrupy taste. I don't know. It's hard to say if you don't drink scotch. But those that drink it know what Speyside is. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. That's the one that I had that I liked, right? Yeah.
It's a little sweet. It's got some caramel.
That one's actually really good. Yeah, I'm not a big scotch drinker, but that stuff is actually pretty good. Whatever the oaky, the not the oaky one, the other one that you gave me when we were at your house, and it tasted like death. It was horrible. So bad.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching at home. If you guys have any feedback for us, please just DM us on Instagram. Make sure that you share the podcast with someone. It greatly helps. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify and iTunes. We've been having companies reach out to us recently because of you guys and the support that you give us. So please keep doing that. It directly helps us. Also, we sent out a new patch today to someone, a listener. Daniel, thank you so much for sending us a patch. Yours is on the mail on your way to you if it's not already there by the time this comes out. So if you guys want a patch, the address is going to be down in the description below if you want one. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching at home. Hopefully you enjoy this, and we'll catch you later. Peace.
Support for Elbows Tight is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code ETP20 at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls.
That's a lot of balls, Johnny. When Manscaped reached out to work with us, I instantly thought, yes, what a deal. I've been using Manscaped products for a while now, and when they mentioned helping out with the podcast, I thought it was a no-brainer. I have the Lawnmower 4.0 now, but I had the Lawnmower 3.0 and absolutely loved it. Also, most people think about Manscaped as just trimmers, but really they have ball deodorant, ball toner, the weed whacker, which is your favorite thing, right, John?
Yeah, I love the weed whacker. Look, I'm about to hit like 45 years old, so I got hair growing out of everywhere now. So it's coming out my ears. I'm like, man, where is that weed whacker? It's definitely my favorite.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ETP20 at Manscaped. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code ETP20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools to get the job done with Manscaped. Laurenz, how's it going today, man? How you doing? We've kind of already been talking for like 15 minutes, but I guess we should probably actually officially start the intro. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk to you too.
Yeah, no, I've it's with our lives being so busy, yours and ours. I was like, every day, I was like, John, can we do this day? John, can we do this day? Man,
yeah, Sunday 10 a.m. might be difficult depending on what happens Saturday 10 p.m. So
that's the same here. Like,
yeah,
our Saturdays are kind of our unwind night.
Yeah. My wife uses it as let's do all the yard work in the world, and then we'll hang out the rest of the day. So yeah, Saturdays for us too are super busy days. I think we literally block out Sunday mornings now just for podcasting. But today's a Wednesday afternoon at 5:30, but it's just as good to me because I'm having a nice after work beer right now. So
there we go.
What you said you were drinking an energy drink? What energy drink do you have?
Honestly, I didn't get one. I went to the employee fridge and grabbed someone's lunch from tomorrow.
Oh
so
no!
It is arranged. Yeah, I will be in trouble tomorrow with one of our
that
employees.
Looks like a dreamsicle.
Orange. Yep, there you go. Orange
you go.
dreamsicle. Yeah, good eyes.
Are you a big energy drinker, or do you like coffee more?
I'm a big coffee guy. I mean, I'll have like my energy drink phase, but it's like almost too much energy. It's too much caffeine, I think. You know, like I start doing like 10 different things. I'll start answering an email, then open up my phone to go on Instagram real quick and do a post. And then I'm thinking like, oh, I should be, going in the warehouse and doing, and like I'm all over the place. I don't get anything done then. But if we're just chatting, that's okay.
Have you ever had a pre-workout before training?
Yeah, when I first started training back in 2010, I would do the scoop of pre-workout with a little bit of water, like Mayao Brothers style.
I tried it a couple times. Like, nope, never doing this again. That was horrible.
Yeah. It's too much. Like you're sitting there and they're going over the technique, and you're like, let's go.
Pretty much.
But besides the point, let's go ahead and get into who you are.
Yeah. I don't know. How did we even? Yeah.
I don't know. But let's go into who you are, what you do for a living, how you got into jiu-jitsu, and all that cool stuff.
Yeah. So I'm Laurenz. My family we own a company called Hyperfly. We started it about 11 years ago. My mom, my dad, my sister, and I. We're still running the business together. I'm the creative director at Hyperfly. My mom's like the brains of the operation. My dad is kind of like he's the one who sets sail for like the new big projects and brings stuff on board, like the NBA projects that we've been doing, and my sister just like manages all of it. So we're based here in Southern California. We have a good team here now, and just slowly growing and doing our thing.
Yeah, Hyperfly is like real quick. Hyperfly is one of my favorite brands. I think I have two of your gis. We mentioned beforehand, the Starlight and then the Ultralight, or what is it, the Hyperlight, right? Is that the right?
Hyperlight. Hyperlight.
Yeah. And so those are like my two favorite gis right now. But how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Like, can you tell that quick story?
Yeah. I guess it all starts with us moving here from Germany in like 2009, and my parents kind of looking for something to do for my younger brother and I, kind of like some sort of martial art or some sport. We weren't into football. We didn't grow up with baseball, none of the American sports that were like widely available for everybody. And this was like right before the boom of like the MMA era, before it was even sanctioned in New York and all that stuff. And we've always had, so my parents put us into jiu-jitsu, but then in Germany, we've always had this trademark, Do or Die. That's the original company name. And when we moved here, we saw the rise of MMA, and my parents decided to start an MMA brand because they kind of saw a lack of creativity in the space. But then quickly, we actually originally started as an MMA brand. We did the UFC Fan Expo like early on, but quickly realized that the space was pretty saturated and there's schools and blood and chains and really wasn't the space to be in at that time.
Well, you weren't a big fan of Affliction and all that stuff?
Tap out.
Tap out.
Yeah.
All that godly stuff.
Yeah, it all had to happen though for us to mature and get to this point, right?
Right.
But yeah, I just saw that and quickly realized it just wasn't the space that we wanted to be in. And because my brother and I were training jiu-jitsu, there was an interest in maybe doing something in that space. Then once I got my blue belt at Gracie Barra, my parents thought it was a good idea to challenge, like a dojo storm, like challenge my blue belt and like go test it out in the real world. And they drove me down to out of all places, they drove me down to the University of Jiu-Jitsu and kind of were like, hey, the school is really prestige, like go on. And I'm wearing a Gracie Barra gi. I got my blue belt on. And this is like, I think this is right after Shanji and Hodger had a match, and so there's a lot of tension there too. And I had no idea. I'm just like 16 years old, not knowing anything about the sport, jumped in the mat and got my ass kicked by like everybody in that school. Like all the white belts kicked my ass, all the higher ranks kicked my ass. I was just like, I just had a red target on my back, the red Gracie Barra.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And after the class was over, I realized that was the blue belt I had wasn't the blue belt I wanted. I wanted that blue belt. That blue belt. I wanted that white belt that they had. That knowledge. And took my blue belt off, gave it to Saulo, and restarted as a white belt. So that's kind of that's how I started training, and that's how we started the jiu-jitsu side of the business. Because once we started training at the university, we made good friends with Saulo and Shanji, and being already in the MMA space and kind of knowing about manufacturing and all that stuff, we wanted to do some custom gis for them. So the very first do or die gi that we ever made was actually a custom gi for the University of Jiu-Jitsu. It was like a old school gold, I think it was a gold weave, like 550 with the diamond skirt and all that. And that was like the first gi we ever made. And then from there, they really liked it. We started making our own gi as a do or die gi. And I think it actually used to be do or die, and then it would just say equip. And from there, we needed a good name for a model, just like any shoe, has a model and something that was a little bit more family friendly. And so that's how we came up with Hyperfly.
Yeah.
So Hyperfly was the first gi model that we made.
Oh, so it was do or die, and then Hyperfly was the model.
For a long time, it was a do or die Hyperfly.
Oh.
That's what we were known as. And then we realized that do or die wasn't. The most family friendly name probably.
Right.
And so we transitioned. It's like you don't want to buy the parents don't want to buy gis that are says do or die on it for their kids. So,
right.
We transitioned into Hyperfly, and that's how it all kind of started.
So you mentioned you're 16 years old, boom, got your blue belt. What was that feeling like? Even though you gave it back later, what was that initial feeling like when you're 16 years old and they're like, "Hey, you can officially be a blue belt," and you got it? What was that whole emotion like?
I guess at that point it was still pretty foreign, just because I had moved here. I was 15 and a half, so I was about 16 and a half when I got my blue belt. Still figuring out Southern California, the language, the people, still making friends. When I first moved, it was second semester freshman year of high school. Didn't really make any friends. It was more like, hey, you're the German kid, say something funny in your accent, So it was all just foreign, but things really started to click when I was training with Saulo and Shanji at their academy. That's when it really felt like I earned it.
Yeah.
Saulo would get in these moods where he would come to the academy, and he would turn off all the lights, light a couple candles, and it would just be like 6-7 minute rounds back to back to back to back, and you were never allowed to sit out. That was like old school Brazilian training. Yeah.
What year was
that's
this?
when really, 2000, like 13, 14. Actually, no, you know what? No, it was closer to 2012. I graduated in 2012, so 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. Yeah. I think that this era of like old school tough Brazilian training isn't necessarily around anymore, which is in the way I think almost good, because it felt abusive at times, but it was just from a different part of the world. It was if you were late to class, you had to climb the rope and stay on the rope, and you would start slipping, and you would get hit on the hands with the shinaya after.
Holy
One of the
crap.
warm-ups was you jump on someone's back and you're running in circles, and someone has a shinaya and we're hitting each other with it. It was great for what it was, and it truly felt like the beginning of like a martial arts journey.
What's
like
a shinaya?
Karate Kid style. A shinaya is a Japanese practice sword, so it's made out of bamboo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool for what it was, but obviously that method isn't really around anymore, because jiu-jitsu now has become a much more family-oriented sport, right? You have the competition classes, which are run very professionally, and then you have like the family side of it. But back then, it was a very different training.
Yeah, we've been through a couple of instructors at our academy, and it's definitely been kind of a a similar experience, but in our own school. Because every time a new instructor comes in, it's a whole different expectation. It's a whole different, Luckily, every time we've leveled up further and further in the skill level, right? Like before, it was the owner, Cody, who was just a purple belt at the time, and no offense to Cody, but the first time someone came in that took over, that was a brown belt, then he got his black belt with us. That was like a whole nother level, and now we're under a Carlson Gracie black belt, Marcelo Alonso black belt, and so which is a whole nother level to him, you know what I mean? And it's just like slowly we're like, it's, you mentioned you wanted to give your blue belt back. When our current instructor came, he was just showing so much stuff that we had never experienced before, and like his, and it's so subjective in jiu-jitsu what a blue belt is, what a purple belt is, you know what I mean? And so he came in, and what his idea of a blue belt wasn't exactly what everyone was at that level, right? Like some of the things we hit, but some things we didn't. But we would joke, we're like, we're just gonna give our blue belts back. He's like, nope, it's fine. You have them. We'll just work on it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. There is no really like one universal system for your ranks. I know that I guess there is a universal system in terms of like going up in the ranks, but I feel like there's no one criteria for like how much should a blue belt know, how much should a purple belt know. Like it kind of differs from school to school, from affiliation, right? Because you have like the whole the Gracie system, like a lot of self-defense stuff in it, but then you go to like Atos and there's like no self-defense,
Right.
So it is really interesting.
Yeah. So when you got your blue belt at your new academy after being smashed and stuff like that, did you ever reflect on like, man, if I were to go back to Gracie Baja right now, like I would give, the purple belts, the brown belts for a run. Did that ever cross your mind? You're like, I kind of want to go back and like try and test myself now with them and see how it goes.
I want to say that ego-driven like 16, 17-year-old Laurenz probably had those thoughts. But I try not to let my ego drive me too much nowadays. So, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it was just, like I said, it was just like it was a complete different level of training, which my favorite part of it was that we always started standing up. And I don't know how many academies do that now. Like it varies like where you go, right? But the warm-ups, part of the warm-ups was, I think it was like grip breaking for like a minute or two, it was taking turns. And then takedowns, takedown for takedown for takedown for takedown for a couple of minutes. And I love that part. I love that. And I think personally, I think every school should have that in their warm-ups and should have that for training, starting standing up, because I think that starting your role sitting kind of takes away from being able to apply what you're learning in the street if you ever need it. You know, the proper distant management. Um, you'll never pull guard in the street. You get kneed in the face. You know, like you want to be the one on top and not. You know, so I'm grateful for that part because I feel really comfortable. I don't have a rank in judo, but I feel really comfortable on my feet and I have a really good base. I'm extremely hard to take down. I have like this awkward power when I'm standing, but I think it's just because of how I started.
I always felt like it was
love
a
it.
handicap to start sitting. And I used to tell him that all the time. I was like, I don't understand why we always start sitting. Like, just was
Yeah.
common sense to me. I was like, I don't understand why we start like this. But, you know.
Yeah, I feel like if we had more mat space and less people, it'd be a whole lot easier for us to start
Yep.
standing. But I even asked one of my good buddies, and I was like, "Hey, how do you safely train?" He was doing like an AMA, and I was like, "Hey, how do you safely train takedowns like in class?" And he straight up said, he's like, "It's virtually impossible." He's like, the best time to do it is like at an open mat or after a bunch of people leave. He's like, otherwise you're going to be running into people. And I see some like videos on Instagram of, I mean, these guys have like warehouse size mats, and you know they're able to practice takedowns. I'm like, man, one day we'll do that because I would also like to practice that stuff. Like I play a lot of open guard right now just because I'm a bigger guy. I'm 5'8", like 200, 205. And so I try to start on my butt or on the ground first. That way I'm not using my size from the get-go with people. And also my open guard sucks really bad. So it's like putting myself at a disadvantage right away. But, you know, I would
Yeah.
like to practice, you know, the actual technique of our single legs and whatnot, because we do the similar thing too, where it's, you know, we start off with grip break. That grip break leads into like an arm drag. That arm drag leads into a single leg, and then you're going to run the pipe,
Right.
and then boom, next part of the technique is we're starting on the ground. Now you got your takedown. Now it's part of the technique. You know what I mean? So do you not prefer? You don't really like when you run around in circles, do 15 minutes of push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, and all that stuff?
Dude, I'm a 7-year purple belt. I'm always late to the warm-ups. No, I try not to be, but I mean, who really likes warm-ups?
Not me.
Preach.
That's right.
Preach.
I don't
Who
want to pay for
actually
that.
enjoys it?
I'm like, if I want to go join a CrossFit class again, then I'll go join a CrossFit
Yeah.
class. I'm not trying to do that. I just want to do the jiu-jitsu.
I think the part that bothers me the most is that I run hot, so I build up a sweat in the warm-up only to cool down
Yes.
sitting watching technique for like 6-7 minutes, right? And then apply the technique, and you're not really breaking a sweat then unless you're drilling. And so I just don't like
Yeah.
if we did technique, like if we stretched, then did technique, and then did a warm-up before we roll, I think I would enjoy that a lot more.
Yeah, the best class I ever had, we just rolled before the class. It was like 4 rounds of rolls, and then we went into class. Felt fantastic.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the biggest complaint people have that actually objectively think about, you know, a traditional style warm up of calisthenics and running and all, you know, these cardiovascular things. Like people think about it, they're like, yeah, I'm warm, but then we're going to go into, okay, now here goes the technique. Everyone sit around me, cross your legs, and we're going to go over 5 minutes of details on how we should do this.
Yeah.
And then by the end of
Yeah.
it, you're like, all right, well, I guess hopefully I don't get injured again because now I'm already cool.
Yeah. But and I warm up I warm up at the gym. Like I know to warm up, but I just don't think that warming up before technique is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's leave it with that.
yeah, we trained in Japan, and the deal was you just warmed up before class, if you wanted
cool.
to. So you'd warm up, and then when class started, we just got straight into technique and
Yeah.
class.
Yeah, but people in Japan are also so much more responsible than people here in the US. They're like, we need to warm up, yes, on our own.
Yeah.
I need to make it on time.
But I did
Show up early, they would say.
I did train in San Diego for a while, and I liked it there because they did a lot of rolls before class too. I was like, yeah, this
Where did you train here in San Diego?
Chula Vista, BJJ.
Okay,
Yeah.
haven't been there, but yeah,
It was good.
San Diego's like a mecca for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was
is.
going to say, there's so many places down there, like Atos, Chula Vista, who has a bunch of good people. There's like Keenan Cornelius.
Johnny Faria Alliance, that's where I'm
yeah.
at. I just have to,
Oh, that's it's right. How did you end up
Yeah.
there? Then let's go to that. How did you end up at Alliance then?
Oh, okay. Well, so when I was training at the university, which is I was living in North County, Encinitas
Mm-hmm.
area. I don't know if you Carlsbad around there. I would drive an hour or so, and I didn't even have a license then. So my parents would drive me like an hour or more down to go train, and then down to go back
Wow,
home.
Wow.
it's good parents.
And yeah, it was great parents. Way too much dedication for a young teenager, and eventually it was just traffic in San Diego has been getting worse over the years,
So bad,
and
man.
it's so bad. It's like LA traffic basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I got to a point where wasn't sure if it was worth going up and down, up and down. And they opened up an affiliation in Oceanside, where I trained for a little bit. Kind of had a fallout with the guy who ran the Hibero school up in Oceanside, and then discovered Surf Fight with Majid and Joel Tudor. Started training there. Then Surf Fight moved in with Studio 540. They combined, joined forces. So I started training there. Got to live through that golden era of Studio 540 with all the free seminars and the amazing open mats and the talent that would just randomly show up to train. They're still doing a great job with their school, and they have something else going for them now. But the goal, like Marcelo Garcia came out of like retirement from doing seminars and did his first seminar there.
Wow.
And it was like a really big deal. We had Bushesha, we did like everybody in the house, Hodger. And then I just moved to a different area of San Diego and found a school that was an Alliance affiliation in Carlsbad that was super close to my apartment. It was basically walking distance, which was a dream to like be able to walk to Jiu-Jitsu and back. It was so cool,
Oh man.
Yeah. So I started training there, and then I moved to Hillcrest, and we moved our office from Carlsbad to Miramar, and Johnny is a good friend of ours. We've been friends with him for years, and his school is like right down the street. So it just all made sense. And the training there is great. It's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
They have like the big fan, lots of space, and everybody who trains there is just awesome.
Yeah. Do you sponsor them? Does Hyperfly sponsor the academy?
We work with some of the athletes there. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Alliance has like their own deal,
yeah,
that they work with brands, and so we never got into that.
So as you're going through like your own BJJ journey, Hyperfly is growing, right? And how did you maintain the ability to train and also work on the business? Because I mean, you were almost an adult already by the time you started training, right? You said you're 15 and a half. And so those first, I can imagine those first couple of years of Hyperfly taking off is you guys really grinding, trying to get it to go. And now that you're an adult, obviously you're the creative director, like you said. How do you balance being able to train, but also being able to run the company?
I have like a love-hate relationship with Jiu-Jitsu. And that is, before first of all, I don't run the company. I always have to say that it's like
Sorry,
our family. I'm the one who's the loudest on social media. It's a full family effort, But yeah, before I started getting into like the designing part and working on gis and stuff, I was just doing anything else that needed to be done, right? So running a social, just working on the warehouse, shipping, all that stuff. And I wasn't too like, I guess like I wasn't too into like staring at gis yet because I wasn't designing any. But as I got into that part, I realized that when I would be sitting on the mat, I would look at other gis and I'm like, oh, what is this? What is that? What are they doing? I would just try to roll with people just because I wanted to touch their gi in a way, to see the details. Like it's my only way of like, checking out other gis without, like putting on a disguise and like going into like the only other like store that's in San Diego, So I have a love-hate relationship with it because I have times when we're just so busy here at the company and all I deal with all day long is jiu-jitsu and I'm working on gis. And so I go on the mat and I just can't pay attention to the technique. I'm staring at other things. I'm spacing out, and it's like, I don't really want to be on the mats when I'm like that, because I can't soak up any of their information, and I'm not a good uke to my partner. I'm just kind of useless, I'm just kind of waiting for everything to be over so we can roll. And yeah, that's it, it's a balance, but right now I'm on a good streak. I'm really excited about training. I recently went through a breakup, so I kind of like found my love and passion for jiu-jitsu again, because it's like the best therapy, and finding a community
Preach.
on the mats. So I've been really loving it.
So what was the turning point then to where, like how you mentioned the breakup, right? But what was the turning point? Like, was it you guys got on the mat one day and like it was like a a mind shift? You were just like, you know what? I just want to have fun. I just want to roll. Like, I don't want to be worried about this.
Yeah, so like I said, it comes in waves, and I aside from training, I also cycle. I
Mm,
love to lift. I love like doing programs where I'm like doing powerlifting or whatever, like setting myself goals. And so like I kind of just like do whatever I'm like what I can be passionate about currently. And so for a while I was cycling, and I had to cycle because I hurt my knee on the mats at an open mat.
mm,
And I've never had a jiu-jitsu injury before, and everybody just kept telling me like just start cycling, like just that's the
mm.
best thing for you, like for your knees. um, but then my coworker, he got invited to do a high rollers tournament, and he kind of needed a training buddy to like get in shape, and just carpool together when we are training all over San Diego. And I got into that, I got really excited about training, and then I hurt my knee again recently. Took some time to let it recover, and then went through that breakup. And that's like when I was on the mat, I was like, this is kind of like the only place I want to be at right now, because I would have all this time. I would go home that I would, spend with my partner doing stuff, going on dates, like doing whatever, working out together. And then I would just go home, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really doing that anymore. So kind of was looking for a better way to spend my time, and the mats kind of just spoke to me. They were there.
Dude, I totally get that, man. I think that's just life, ebbs and flows, right? We go after what we're
Absolutely.
passionate about at the time. Like I'm on a long break right now. Had some shoulder surgery. What I've been gone like 6, 7 months
Yeah,
probably
a
at this
while.
point. And I get it all the time. They're like, you miss it, you ready to go back? And like right now, I don't. I've got other hobbies I'm into. I'm enjoying
That's what it
spending
is.
time with my kids and their soccer games and not worrying about it.
Yeah.
So like right now I'm not there yet. I think I will get there again, and I'll probably
Hmm.
swap my blue belt for white belt again when I do go back. But I totally get it, dude. I think that's just life, and we're all
Yeah.
human. Those are just the things that happen.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
mentioned too, I had a little bit of a mind shift change too, and I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel like I had to win at every class, but was trying to find some. Maybe I was trying to find something that was motivating me to show up to
Hmm.
train, because, like you guys just mentioned, we all go through it, and so I would get to the class, and I'm like, well, I just want to like roll and push myself and try, and I would get really tired because I'm a dad, I have a full-time job, so I'm like setting higher expectations for myself than I probably should have. And so one day, and I was like, just a couple weeks ago, I was like, you know what, screw this, man. I just really want to have fun. I'm gonna put myself in really shitty positions. I'm just gonna try stuff on people that are good. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The beautiful thing about getting out of a horrible position or submission is there's one thing that automatically stops it. It's a tap, and it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like I used to feel
Hmm.
like tapping was like no, I got tapped tonight, but whatever, dude. Like I'm happy I get to train. That's like the best part of
Yeah.
my day. Tuesdays and Thursdays it sucks that it's at 6 p.m. at night, but at least I get to go train twice a week, and my oldest son does it with me.
I'm gonna start a movement
Yeah.
to get a class at 4 p.m.
I think one of the things that was for me that clicked was, when you're cycling, or when you're doing anything on your own, you get to the point where you hit the wall, right? And so you either push through the wall, and you get to this beautiful state where you can just go forever. Like especially when I love long distance running, and I'll get to like mile 10, and then I don't feel any of it anymore,
Yep.
and I'm just like floating. But it is also extremely difficult because it's so easy to quit. And
Yes.
same with lifting at the gym. You can be like, all right, I did how many exercises, looking swole, feeling strong, like time to go home. House of Dragon is on. But when
Yeah.
you're on the yeah, but when you're on the mats, like I have this rule that if someone asks me to roll, I don't say no. I just don't. It doesn't matter what rank they are. I just never say no. I'm trying to be more of a yes guy with everything in my life. But it helps because getting beat up is like, in a weird way, it's such a satisfying feeling because you're not quitting, right? Like you're pushing through it all until the class is over, right? Or until no one wants to roll anymore. And so it's not up to you to just walk off and be done with it. It's like everybody's done, you know, as a whole.
Yeah.
But really helps me like push through it all, you know, and really, because like there's so many times when I leave the gym and I'm just like, I could have done more, or like I get home from my ride and I didn't take that one turn, which would have added a couple more miles, you know. But on the mat, you just get beat up, and unless you're the baddest dude in the room, you know, and then you should probably find a new mat to train at. But right, but I love that challenge of it, and another fun thing I realized, because I used to train for the next rank, you know, I white, and then I got my orange belt, and then I got my orange belt before I got my blue belt. So it was almost like a degrading in a way. You know, I was like, an orange belt, like those for kids. But I've always trained for the next belt. But I was a blue belt for 5 years. I've been a purple belt for 7. I've had so many ups and downs in my life with jiu-jitsu. Things have kept me away. I've competed. I've done like all of it. You know, I've been training for a long time. And I just realized that I'm not really training for that belt anymore. That is not even on my horizon. If it happens, it happens. I'll be stoked on it. You know, I'll probably shed a tear. But just in general, I'm just training because, one, it makes me feel great. But the second is that I want to be able, like if I'm caught in a situation and I have to find a dude who's like the mountain from Game of Thrones, you know, like the big old dude.
Right.
I want to be able to give my absolute best to like fight for my life, or defend the people that I love, or just like run through a horde of zombies. I don't know what it is, what's going to happen, but I want to feel like a lethal weapon, you know, like I want to be strong. I want to be fast. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to protect the people I love that are around me. And that's kind of like why I train, because I want to be able to put up the best possible fight to like fight for my life, or whatever might happen one day, you know. I don't know if it's like a weird thought or not, but it kind of like clicked in my head, and I'm just like, I just want to be a badass motherfucker. I don't care what rank I am, you know, like I'm not walking around on the street with a rank tied around my ass, you know, like I'm not wearing like,
you could,
you know, so I could, you know, we've thought about making products like that, but we don't. And, you know, I think it's cheesy, but I just want to be able to like give someone a hard time and have the absolute best shot at survival. So that's kind of why I train now.
Yeah,
life's crazy, dude. Shit's crazy out there. Like you don't never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, John and I, honestly, we talk about it all the time, and we're like, okay, which people in the group of friends are going to be useful in the time of an apocalypse, and which ones are going to be outside the circle?
I'm like,
you know
whose pantry's mine?
Yeah,
who's it? No.
Yeah, it's not weird. I mean, you got to think about it. We're all waiting for that gigantic earthquake, right? Apparently, like the what's the plate that you guys live on?
Andreas.
The San Andreas plate, right? That's supposed to split California off. Thank God. I mean, no,
we're like so overdue, apparently. So overdue.
Yeah, so having that jiu-jitsu is going to help, man, because someone's going to come and you're going to have to pull guard on them, you know?
Yeah.
At least you'll have the cardio.
Yeah.
The cardio is what you want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then you have Russia, you know, threatening nuclear war, and you have shit happening everywhere. And I don't trust dark alleyways, you know, like I want to be able to prepare to take care of my own and whoever is around me.
So do you feel like your jiu-jitsu cardio has been improved since you cycle from the injury and all that stuff? Do you feel like it's helped any?
Probably, but I've always had really, really good cardio. So my first love is running. I remember the day I got runner's high. I think I was probably in 5th grade in Germany, and we had like a PE test. It was like running around a lake, and like, you know, tracking the time, and everybody had to do it. And I just kept lapping the lake, you know, over and over and over again. And then eventually it was time for all of us to go back to school. Like, my school was like in the woods basically. So we'd like go over to the track, and we're waiting for everybody else to finish up. And I just like start running the track, and I'm like, you know, doing laps and laps and laps. And at some point I hear the bell go off for like break, and I'm like, I'm just gonna run through the break. and then the bell go off for the next class to start, and I'm like, I'm just gonna skip class and keep running. I didn't know what was coming over me, but I had this incredible, like I didn't even have music on or anything. I just had this incredible runner's high, and I was just flying over the track, and I felt so incredible. So I've been running my entire life. I've always loved running, and I've always had good cardio. I'm always like the last guy to get up like, one more time. I'm like, let's go again. So,
I know what you're talking about too, because it's hard to explain. I have a very similar story. When I was in elementary school, I was like the third or fourth fastest kid in my elementary school, and I didn't even understand. It wasn't until I was an adult and I found my athleticism in my early 20s, and I was like, man, all the signs were there. Like, I'm looking back at it now, I'm like, all the signs were there, man. I wish I would have taken advantage of it. But my wife has done like a half marathon, and I've done a couple of marathons and 10Ks and 5Ks and stuff like that. There's a big point in my life where I really, really loved running also. Now I look back at it and I like reevaluate my life decisions on why would I enjoy running so much. But but that runner's high, it's almost equivalent to like when you get done with a roll and you're not tired and the other person is like exhausted. You're like, that's right. I did good on that one.
yeah. That's like one of the best feelings when you just feel like you can go forever, and that's why I just love being an active person, and just like I dabble in everything, and I'm not particularly good at any of them. I just do all of them. So I have like many tools in the shed. They might not be the sharpest, but I can use them if I have to, when I can apply them when I need to.
Right. So you said you competed. When was the last time you competed?
Last time I competed, man, I was a purple belt. I did the San Diego Open. I want to say it was like 2017 or 18. I hadn't competed in a while, and I was like on one of those, like I'm just training a bunch right now and I feel great. So I signed up for a tournament, jumped in, and this is why I love jiu-jitsu too, because the first dude that the first match, stocky dude, big ears, like I don't even have cauliflower ears. Like I kind of low-key want it, but I don't think I'll ever happen. I think ears like this, But big dude, cauliflower ears, and I'm like, shit, man, this guy's gonna beat me up. Blew through his guard, mounted him, cross collar choked him, and I was like, okay, cool, yeah. Like round 2, match 2, again, same scenario. And I'm like, oh man, this guy, he's Brazilian, he's the fighter. Like, okay, this is it. Same thing, like, blew through his guard, mounted him, cross collar choke. It was awesome. Or maybe that was an armbar. And then the third one, I fought this kid Daniel from Sweden who was training in Athos, and super long legs, couldn't get past this guard, and so I think I placed third, and I think that's the only time I ever placed at a tournament actually, besides good grappling X like years and years and years ago. But that's the last time I competed. I was really eager to compete at the Jiu-Jitsu World League that's happening this weekend in Del Mar here in San Diego, but when I re-injured my knee like almost 2 weeks ago at the Legion Open mat, this kid was blue belt trying to pass my guard, took the leg with it, and just kind of like my knee just went out. But I've been hitting the gym and doing legs, and everything feels fine. So I'm kind of just giving it another week or so, and then I'll be back on the mats.
What is your mindset before you compete? We asked Heisem this. Are you like you meditate? Do you listen to music? Like what is it that you would do before you step on the mat?
So I think if I'd compete today or this weekend, it'd be a different mindset that I had when I first started. When I first started, it was like the pre-workout at the tournament, it was I have to get in that that zone of like, I'm gonna fuck someone up, I'm gonna kill this dude. He did something terrible to my family or something, just trying to get to that dark place where you're just pissed off and you're angry and you're slapping yourself, and like, I was that guy jumping high on the side on the mats and stuff. But I think now I would just jam out. I would just put on headphones and I would just jam out and just be excited to compete. I realized that when I'm training, I flow better and I have a better role and I have a better time when I'm just having fun. When I'm not taking it so serious. When I'm not, setting myself like I'm putting myself to this like dark place, or I'm getting pissed off. Like I have a genuine better time when I'm feeling like a genuine guy, you know? So I don't really, and it's same, but that was the same thing for anything for me. Like I played ice hockey for years, and like he would just like, oh, this team sucks, you know, like get mad at this team. And then, you know, and I don't know if that's just like the path that people take to get to like the, you know, ideal like mindset or something. Everybody's going through stuff to get where they're at now, you know. But I'm kind of just like in a really happy place right now in my life, even though I just had a breakup. But I'm in a really happy place, and I'm really grateful. And yeah, I'm just here to have fun. That's why I want to train, just because I want to have fun now.
What's on the playlist?
What's on the playlist? Probably some techno. I listen to a lot of techno. I listen to a lot of psychedelic rock, a little bit of rap here and there. But you know what? I think that if I was competing, I would probably be listening to this band called Krungben, just because they're like a jam band, and it's just like super fun to listen to and flow to. So, yeah.
When you roll, do you prefer? John likes asking this question actually about the coaching. Do you like when people coach you during competition, or do you like just figuring it out on your own?
Football is back, baby. We're back to seeing Mahomes sling beautiful balls all over the field, and your friends at Manscaped are here to help you sling your beautiful balls all season long. With Manscaped's state-of-the-art tech, we'll have your weapon looking more loaded than the AFC West. Football may be rough, but your ball care doesn't have to be with Manscaped. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code ETP20.
At Whiteout and the clearest duo in the league, the ultimate premium body wash and ultra premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner with their rugged scent. They attracted both the ball and all the ladies in the crowd. Plus, these two leave your skin and scalp feeling more hydrated, and that means plays on the field and less water breaks. You know what I'm saying? On defense, there's only one thing you need: the aluminum-free, ultra-premium deodorant. With the refined cologne quality fragrance, it keeps sweat and the locker room scents from making any ground. Plus, it dries clear, so the opponent won't even know what hit them. Kind of like the ball deodorant.
This has got to be a Super Bowl winning roster. Please don't take my word for it. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code ETP20. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code ETP20. Manscaped, for turning your player into an MVP.
Thanks, Manscaped.
No, I think the coaching is I think unless you're a veteran in competing, I think having a coach is crucial. Just because everybody else has a coach, right?
I'm listening to that coach though. When they're yelling at him on what to do, I'm like, counter, move, counter. I'm like, don't tell him what I need to do. I know what I need to do.
Yeah. No, I the last time I competed, I had a random guy that I've known for years. He just started randomly coaching me, and it was super helpful. You know, it's just like the Hawkeye perspective. You know,
right.
Like, oh, he's going for this. You know, make sure you counter, and like. In a way, you can listen to the other coach, but I feel like also like if you're paying attention to someone else other than the one voice that you know, you'll probably fuck up and you'll probably get swept or something. You know?
All I know is the greatest thing I could hear was time. They're like 15 seconds left.
Like thank
5, and I'm
Jesus.
like, thank God, I'm about to die.
Yeah.
So what's your game now as a seasoned purple belt? Like what do you enjoy doing?
I've been hitting wrist locks on everybody because they're always there, and people get mad at me for it.
That's
but
our
it's
shit.
like
We love that.
it's the aha moment, you know. You get the wrist lock, and I'm like, it's always there, and they go, We were my coworker John Luke and I. We went to High Rollers in Vegas. So we went to ADCC and we went to High Rollers. Yeah, we were there right as it started and hung out for like an hour or so, and then we left. So I think the thing went way late. But it's cool. Like they just have like a room full of people rolling joints, and they bring them out, and everybody's sitting on the mat smoking. But I remember wrist locking this kid, or this dude. I'm not beating up on kids. This dude. And
we don't judge.
Yeah, and I go, they're always there. And he goes, dude, that's exactly what that guy said. And I look over, and it's my coworker, because we train together. So, but I mean, generally, like I like standing. I like starting out standing, trying to get the takedown, and then passing guard. It goes all the way back to like Shanji and Salos, like 100 kilos from the side, pressure passing, that stuff. I try to slow your game down. So instead of me trying to outpace you, although even though I have great cardio, I try to just to like handicap you in a way. Like I try to slow you down, get grips that are annoying, put my elbow in your face, just make it really uncomfortable for you. Because it's a contact sport. A lot of people forget that, and I feel like a lot of schools, unless you're doing a competition class, you're not necessarily like like the Rotola brothers. Their style. They just constantly make it uncomfortable for you. They're stepping on your ankles while they're trying to pass, and I love that. And I think it's fair game. So I try to slow you down, try to put as much as pressure as possible on you, light on my feet, but really heavy in like every position I get in. And that's kind of what I like.
It's
Now, if you sweep me and start passing my guard, my open guard needs a lot of work still. So
I'm right there with you, bro. Mine is terrible. I feel like
Yeah.
a turtle on his back, bro. Like people would literally
Yeah.
like last night I was rolling with Cody, our owner. He's a 6'5", 220-pound
Oh.
guy. Yeah, and
There you go.
brown belt. And so he literally just grabbed my knees and just shucked me to the side. And I was like, all right, well, I guess you're in side control now, man. Like there's nothing I can really do here.
Just pick you up like a little child and set you over.
Yeah, I feel like my son
Yes.
when he plays with me. This is what I feel like
Yeah.
when I roll with I've never felt so disrespected every Tuesday and Thursday in my life than feeling like a man child rolling with this person. You know what I'm saying?
Like, did he just grab my arm and move it? He's like, I'm like, what the? I'm not that weak.
Yeah.
So what do you
It's-
feel like your biggest weakness is in jiu-jitsu right now?
Probably playing open guard, to be honest. It's like I've never really loved that, and I've always been quick to like try to get the takedown and try to start passing, or so like whenever I get swept and like people are like trying to pass my guard, that's definitely one of the weaker positions I have. But I'm really hard to submit. So like you might get your arm all the way around me and you think you have that choke sunk in, but I'll get out of it. Like I'm super hard to submit. I'm I got my limbs in and I don't really like let anything out,
Keep those elbows
So,
tight.
Yeah, keep them tight, like I got the basics down, tuck and roll, like I know how to properly defend myself on the mats when it comes to like defending attacks and getting out of them. And I think that's like one of my biggest assets I have too. Because sometimes when you're training with someone and they get a good submission early on and they think they have it and then you get out of it, I think like most of the times you'll end up in a better position, right? Because I feel like a lot of submissions kind of set you up, like arm bars, unless it's like they have your back, but be able to get out of it and get into guard or start passing. Sometimes, and like what you said earlier, I put myself in shitty positions just to work out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll go to an open mat and I'll find the absolute biggest person there or like the highest rank and I'll ask them to roll because I apply the Super Saiyan method there where maybe I don't know if you guys are like familiar with Goku and all that
Super
stuff,
Saiyan?
but like whenever you get beat down, right, you come back stronger. Goku always came back stronger, like he would almost die, but then like once he recovered, he was so much stronger. And so that's kind of how I see it. Like if I can pick the biggest person in the room to beat me up, or like the person with the most stripes with the darkest belt to beat me up, I can get out of any other situation. Like I can take a beating from anybody else and survive it or get the better.
It really puts in perspective when you do something like that, like you get smashed by a black belt or whatever, how trivial everything else is on or off the mat, right? Like you're putting yourself purposely in hardship to grow as a person. And then when you leave that open mat, it's almost like that runner's high. It's like, well, anything else that attacks me today, I'm not too worried about it. I just had a 3rd-degree black belt literally smash me for 5 minutes, and I survived that. I may have tapped a couple times, but you're learning something. I think there's like, that is such an underrated thing for new practitioners to fully understand, that like you're growing even when you're getting tapped, as long as you take it as a growth and not as something that's like, oh man, he got me again. Like, no, it's okay. Like, you're gonna fail. Like, it's okay, because everything else in life isn't gonna give you that opportunity to realize your faults and give you the opportunity to do it better next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think ego plays a huge part in this, right? When you're new to jiu-jitsu and you get on the mats and say, you're 20 years old, you're male, you're, relatively good shape, and you get paired up with like a juvenile or with a girl, and they beat you up and they choke you out. You can like go, 2 ways. You can learn from it and let it humble you, which is what I think jiu-jitsu is supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can like let it make you mad, and not really learn from it. And so I think getting humbled on the mats at a young age has helped me stay out of trouble in high school. Like, I never got into any fights. Also, when I started training, it was like, oh, you do UFC? So everybody in school was just like, oh, this kid does UFC. I don't want to fight him, So that was great. But in a lot of ways, like at getting your ego crushed at a young age, or just at any time when you get into jiu-jitsu and you allow yourself to open up to that and learn from it, you can apply that in your life everywhere you go. I think like it's a learning experience that you can apply to anything that you might have to encounter in life, and kind of give you a different perspective, like not be so ego driven and have a more open mindset about it.
Agreed. The first time I got tapped by a 16-year-old girl, I was like, all right, I guess that kind of sucks. Riley, she every time we mention her, she listens to the podcast, and every time we mention her name, she has like a collage of video clips of us mentioning her. But when we first started, she's 17 now, about to be 17, and we've been doing this. So she was like 12, 13 years old, and her dad's a cop, and she would just like forearm to the jaw. Yeah. Like, you'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna go light, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, dude, this chick's literally trying to kill me right now. Like, and rolling with someone like that, yeah, you can use your size, yeah, you can use your strength, but then no one's really gaining anything from that experience. So it makes you have to like, okay, how do I get out of this? Like, without just ripping her arm off me. I think that, once again, I think there's a lot to learn there, that newer practitioners only see the bad side of it, and they don't see the chance to like apply a technique to the fullest extent,
Mm-hmm. And until you hit that point where it's so obvious that you kind of just like have to let it like teach you, Like, I think you for a while you can like kind of run around like this and be like, oh, but at some point, because like we all have those moments where, oh man, I've been training for 2, 3, 4 weeks now, and I feel like a killer, and I just went to this open mat and I crushed everybody, right? And then you travel a little bit, you go to a different school, and you just get annihilated, and you're like, man, but I was so good. Like, how is this happening? And I'm very fortunate to have like trained like so many places around the world and experience a lot of the different ways of, like, I always say that jiu-jitsu is like, it's a universal language. We can all communicate through it, but everywhere you go, there's a little bit of an accent to it. So people do it a little bit different, and I've gotten my ego crushed so many times thinking I'm the baddest dude in the room by like people that are the same rank or less. And I'm like, maybe I'm just having a bad day, or like, you just get embarrassed, and I think if it happens enough, at some point you kind of surrender to it, and you're just like, all right, and then you can use it as a tool in life, problem solving, and
Yeah, because you're gonna have bad days. It happens. Yeah, it's okay. It's
you're gonna have bad days,
right, John?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when you look at the future of jiu-jitsu, where do you see it going? Especially because you're so heavily into the whole community?
So ADCC that just happened in Vegas was a beautiful sign of how healthy our jiu-jitsu community currently is, I think. We here at Hyperfly, we've seen a huge uptake through COVID of like people buying white belts. We have a store, so in San Diego was a mecca for jiu-jitsu, so we have a lot of people coming in, like first time getting their first gi, getting their belt and all that. Jiu-jitsu has been like, it's been on the rise, but because of everything that happened during COVID and everything, all the violence and all the other stuff that happened in the like 2 or 3 year period, a lot of people just want to know how to defend themselves, right? And so you have so many new people in the jiu-jitsu industry and our world, and it really showed at ADCC. Like people really showed up, and people were cheering, and people were about it. And for a long time, Worlds was like the mega event, right? You go to Worlds and you see it, and by Sunday, like no one's really there because Flow has made it so easy for you to sit at home. And so like us as the spectators, us on the ground, we don't really see the numbers, like we don't know how many people tuned in. And so it's always been like, oh, this year Worlds was good, this year wasn't, like nobody wants to sit through long finals. But when you put together a mega event like ADCC and you get talent and you get Bruce Buffer to walk out, and you get Joe Rogan on the sidelines, and you really pull everybody who loves jiu-jitsu together and give them one event to come together for, I think you see a beautiful reflection of where our sport is heading. And I think we're just going up from here. Like I mentioned earlier, when I first started training and I was in high school, people were like, oh, you do UFC, and like pajamas, and like people just didn't understand what jiu-jitsu was, right? But I think all the great industries, all the great sports that have created an industry nowadays, like yoga, like surfing, like skateboarding, they've all been there, right? Like skateboarders were like, hood rats, like what are they doing? Surfers were just kooks, like stoners, right? And yoga, like hippies, like what is going on, And now you look at Lululemon, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Like a company, and it's a yoga as an industry. And so I think that we've graduated from, when I say we, jiu-jitsu has graduated from a martial art that was like a hobbyist sport, that was a martial art, you had to be a martial artist to be in it, to a household name. Almost everybody knows what jiu-jitsu is nowadays, People know the benefits of it, of self-defense, of mental health, of just overall fitness, the community that can come with it, and just like how much fun it is. It's become its own thing, and I don't think that we have even reached we're not nowhere near the top. No. I think that we have so much more growth and so much more that we're going to see, and I mean, Flow's doing a huge part in it, like putting together a reality TV show to, give us give us more athletes to like get behind, that have a social media account, right? That are active on there, that are characters that can tell a story. And I think that we're just really, as these last couple of years, we're just really now seeing like what jiu-jitsu can be and where it's gonna go.
I think a very interesting point about jiu-jitsu and when it comes to, events like ADCC or any real jiu-jitsu event is the people in the crowd are typically active participators in the sport. Like not necessarily the sport of like jiu-jitsu, but they typically are practitioners of jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like one of our buddies mentioned this during one of his interviews recently, but he's like, you don't go to a football game and everyone in the stadiums are football players. You don't go to a basketball game. Yeah, right. But if you like walked into ADCC, it's almost everyone in the crowd is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. You know what I mean? Like they're all there because they love the sport and they practice the sport and they want to see it at the highest level. I think that is so interesting. And like, it's such a market, I guess you could say, to grab a hold of if you can, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that when we all show up for like ADCC, and everybody trains and you can talk to anybody, you can be standing in line, oh, where do you train at? What do you do? And everybody's kind of friends, because we're all doing the same thing. We're all in each other's clothes guards as men, like there's like, we've have already crossed so many boundaries, what regular people don't do, like just because you love football doesn't mean you're on the field getting tackled, you're most likely on the sidelines watching it. But all of us jiu-jitsu cats, all of us, we all bleed and train together. We all sweat on each other, like it's a different community,
Yeah.
and then we get the whole MMA side too, right? And so like what Mo did with getting Bruce Buffer and getting all these people to show up for ADCC, you get all these eyes from the UFC fans too, because it's like, oh, they're not striking, but they're grappling, and like this guy Gordon Ryan has a big name, and like, and so I think that we're heading in like the golden era almost, of new talent, of new events, and just us brands too. I think that there's a handful of brands that are doing exciting stuff in the sport, that are bringing eyes and bringing streetwear brands into this world, and helping the sport grow overall. I have been training forever, and I should maybe be a brown belt at this point, but I'm not. But I definitely think that if I'm speaking in terms of like jiu-jitsu like lingo, I'm like a black belt second degree when it comes to like just handling the jiu-jitsu side of, like the what we as Hyperfly have brought to the sport, the eyes, the people, the collaborations. Like I think it plays a massive part in the overall health of the sport, and what is possible for athletes. We're one of the first brands to really pay our athletes, like when
Yeah.
nobody was really like Corral and all these brands, like shit, I don't want to mention any brands, but like brands back in the day, like nobody was really getting paid like a fair salary, right? It was like, hey, we give you gis and you can take these gis and sell them in your school. Like you made all your athletes like gi dealers, and like that's just another job in its own when they should be focusing on training. And so when we really first started training, working with professional athletes, like athletes that are in it to train, to compete, and achieve the highest possible level, we truly were supporting them. Whether they're winning or losing, or they're injured, we don't stop payments. We don't just bail on them. We don't just work with an athlete when they're hot, when they're like, oh, this talent, purple belt right now, he's gonna crush it at purple, brown, and black. And once he's black, we're out, because you never know how they're gonna do.
Right.
When we work with athletes, we're a family business, so like we treat them like family. We're very close and personal with all our athletes, which has sometimes done us wrong, being so close to athletes, because life is unpredictable, and sometimes you split ways and you go different ways, and it feels like a terrible breakup. It's like so emotional.
Right.
But we as a brand want to be taken serious by the people that follow us, and so we treat everybody else the same. Like the athletes that it's a two-way, and I think that's what a lot of brands don't realize, or maybe they're starting to more, but it's a two-way relationship, and athletes don't realize that necessarily either. They're like, oh, well, I just tapped this guy out and I'm on hot shit right now. But it's a two-way street, right? Like we do everything possible for you to be able to train, and so you have to do everything possible for us to be able to pay our bills, right? So you have to promote the brand in the right way. And I don't even know how we got to this point, but yeah.
No, one of my favorite athletes that you have is a good friend of the podcast, Matthew Gillette, and he is whenever you guys drop something new and you send it to him, I'm waiting for like the Instagram post. Like he's done like the tiger one where he had like a sword. He just did the flower with the shake weight. I always message him afterwards. I'm like, dude, you have me dying laughing over here with some of your posts, man.
Yeah, Matt's cool. We've been working with Matt for like, I think almost as long as we've been a brand.
Yeah.
Like we've been working with him for forever. I think we started working with Matt when he was a blue belt. Pretty sure we did. But we have a few athletes like that. Like Isaac Bahansi, we started working with him when he was a juvenile blue belt, and did all of the juvenile stuff with him, and then all the adult and all of the ranks, and now he's like traveling the world and opening up schools in Texas and in Sao Paulo with Dream Art, and doing incredible things and giving back to the community. But we have a good handful of athletes, and not all of them compete anymore, but that we graduated with. That's the way we put it, like blue to black. White belt, I don't think necessarily counts because like you don't know where you're at as a white belt, and you don't really, like whenever a white belt applies for a sponsorship, I'm like, you make it to blue belt first, and you get a stripe on there to show that you're dedicated, and then we'll talk. There's no white belt that is, unless there's some influencer or something, and then you got to work with them, But yeah.
Speaking of influencers, someone that you are friends with that I hear, Tom Hardy. He's recently been in the limelight lately because he's been competing a lot more. Every time I see him winning a tournament, the first thing I think of is he's trying to get his purple belt. I'm not thinking of anything else. Like I'm like, this dude's trying to get his purple belt right now. He's waiting for Sam. Sam's probably like, you got to win a couple tournaments, man. And then he's like, then you can get your purple belt. And so Tom's like, whatever, I'll go out in the limelight. Like, what is that relationship like? When you look back at like where you guys started to now, you're in relationship with all these incredible people. How does that feel?
It goes back to just being like so incredibly grateful for where I'm at with my life and where the company and us as a family are at in life. We've been just super fortunate to make some really unique, great friends at the right time and being there for when random people would show up. But Tom was just a fan. Like Tom was buying stuff from Hyperfly from us, and I to this day I still have my Shopify notifications on my phone. So every sale, and my sister is like, "Why do you do that? Turn it off." But when I don't hear my phone ringing, I know something's wrong. When I don't hear the Shopify bing, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So I'm always scrolling through the orders, like seeing who's placing orders, like where are they going. And eventually, like, I mean, Tom Hardy's just a name that stands out, right? It's like iconic. It's like, boom.
Right.
And I think we messaged him on Instagram. Well, I did. That's when I was running our social. I messaged him on Instagram and just kind of like, hey, thank you for the support, just kind of chatting him up. And he replied, which was really cool. And then I had a Europe trip planned. And whenever I meet someone who's like a person of interest, I'm just going to try to meet them, So I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in Germany later this summer. What's up? And he's like, oh, come over to the UK, come over to London, come train with us. And did my Germany family trip and then hopped on a plane, flew over there. And it was a Hodger Gracie affiliation, a little outside of out of London. And I think I was still messaging with him on Instagram, and he's like, yeah, I'll be there at 5:30. Just come and train. And I'm there, or he said, come train with us at 5:30. I'm there on the mat, I'm training. He's not there. And I'm like, oh, he just meant come train with the team. And I'm like, whatever. Still a cool experience. I'm in London. And then I turn around, and this rugged looking dude with the beard and everything is like right behind me. And he's like, hey, mate, sorry for being late, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're apologizing to me? You don't have to apologize
You're
to
Tom
me.
Hardy.
Yeah, I'm like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, just trained with him and passed his guard, and he called me a cunt out of endearment. It was like a loving, endearing term.
Right.
And after that, just like he's just. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize that all of us were just individuals. We're all the same. We all have a lifespan on this planet. We're all going to die at some point. We're all bleed the same. We're all the same. And some people are just on higher pedestals than others. And it took me a while to realize that, because as a kid, I was actually extremely nervous, and I could have never done what I do now. But now, after years and years of doing this business with my family and my parents pushing me at tournaments to be at a tournament competing as a white belt, and like, okay, go to this guy and give him a poster and a key lanyard, and just introduce yourself, and go to this person, and like my opponent, all the people that I would compete against, they would get like a care package after from us, like, oh, sorry for waiting, here you go, here's a care package from Do or Die. And it's just like talking to random people, so like I've gotten really comfortable at talking to anybody, like selling a fridge to an Eskimo, like I can just go for it. But yeah, I met Tom, and he was just super cool, and we've been just like chatting ever since. We've been just, it's not like he's like my texting buddy that we talk all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I'm grateful for just having that relationship. And then the reason why met with Tom was to work on a reorg project
Those guys are great.
with Sam. Yeah, with Sam. They're all awesome, amazing, amazing. They do an amazing job with what with the awareness they're raising and the funds they're raising for veterans to train, and it's incredible. But yeah, I got to meet that whole crew, and that's kind of like how that's how that relationship started.
Did you ever think you were going to be at where you guys are now, like sitting, picking up leaving Seattle to go back down to get your first crate of gis and whatnot? Like, did you ever think that you're going to be where you guys are?
No. To be completely transparent, I mean, like, who as a teenager loves hanging out with their parents all the time?
Preach.
Or running a family business together out of your garage.
Right.
And so I've had a love-hate relationship with with the business at first, because I was like, I just want to be doing whatever I want to do, but it's a family business and it's getting busy, so I got to help out. And then I was like, oh man, jiu-jitsu is not cool, and I want to do something cool. But I've always wanted to be a graphic designer. I've always loved what I'm doing now. And I kind of just created this position for myself. But yeah, I never thought that we would be where we are now. And it didn't really click for a while. It felt more like something I had to do at first, and then I really found the passion for it and the community of people that we have. And I love going to tournaments and just seeing people that are wearing the brand. And every once in a while, I see someone out in the open, with out in the wild wearing a Hyperfly shirt, and I'll just chat them up, like, oh, what do you think about them? And the other day I was at Target and I was wearing our fly pack, our fanny pack, and this dude was waiting at the exit door. He had seen me checking out, and he's waiting at the exit door. He doesn't know who I am or anything, but as I walked past him, he goes, "Is that the fly pack for Hyperfly?" And I was like, "It is, man." He's like, "Dude, it's been sold out forever. I really want one. It looks so cool," and yada yada yada. And I was like, "This is amazing. This is so cool." I never thought that this would happen, because it's jiu-jitsu has changed so much, you know, and we've put in so much hard work to get to where we are, and we're still working so hard. But I'm trying to really enjoy the fruit of our labor, and really I think it makes everything a lot easier when you really stop for a second and smell the roses. You really try to enjoy all the hard work you put in.
Yeah, absolutely. John, you got anything else?
I don't, man. You got some good stories.
Yeah. Super fun conversation, man. We greatly appreciate you coming on the show. We like to end every conversation with the same question. If you could give one piece of advice to a brand new white belt starting in jiu-jitsu, what would it be?
Just show up. I don't know how many people give that advice, but just show up. Because you can, like we've talked about before, you can have a high, and then you can hit a low, and the low can set you off track, right? And the low can be so bad that you just feel embarrassed, or you feel like you're not learning, and you're kind of just stuck, and you're not progressing. But just showing up is the difference. That's what's going to make the difference to your entire jiu-jitsu journey, to how much you know, to how good you can be. Just showing up. That's all.
Well, thank you, Laurenz.
Clip your nails. Clip your nails every time.
Including your toenails. Including your toenails.
Clip your toenails, everything. Just clip them. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Laurenz, for coming on today, man. This was a great conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to fit it in. And even though we had a little bit of technical difficulties on our end, this did not disappoint, man. Thank you so much is there anything that you want to put out there? Where can people find you at if they want to follow you?
Hyperfly Laurenz, that's my IG. I'm pretty active on it these days. We have a store here in San Diego, in Miramar. So if you're in San Diego, come on in. The team is always here. We're always happy to meet everybody and get you fitted. And most likely all the big tournaments, all the A-list tournaments, I'm usually always there. And hopefully somewhere on a mat near you sometime, competing or training, because I'm planning on traveling a lot more for work and get out there. So if I'm in your area, hit me up on Instagram for sure.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone listening and watching at home. John, you got anything else?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, guys. Remember, no oil checks here.
Yes.
All right. Thanks. Peace.